Hi, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Andrew.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Kevin.
And we're here, as usual, to discuss articles from what we call the Green Page and what you can find at cmuptm.blogspot.com. Articles from around the entertainment industry and commented on by our young students here at CMU. Our first article for this week is about casting calls.
It's called Watch Actresses Read Ridiculously Sexist Casting Calls Out Loud by Sarah Seltzer from Flavor Wire.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically exactly what the title is, and it's women calling attention to how, like, the ridiculous casting calls that women receive.
Yeah.
In like publications, right?
This article made me
Yeah.
feel like I had to go lie down in a dark room for like half an hour.
That's exactly what I did. It took a long time.
I just can't believe it. I can't believe that people in their casting calls are saying things like, seeking stereotypical damsel in distress type.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want anything about your production to be stereotypical?
Right. And then they said your typical trailer trash was one of them.
Uh-huh.
Like, it said something like, normal woman, your typical trailer trash.
Right.
Like, okay. What does that mean?
My personal favorite / least favorite, mostly least favorite, was quote, seeking drunken girl slapper at a party. Actress must have easy access skirt in which to be taken from behind.
Oh my God.
Consent to have fake vomit thrown on her.
Interesting.
There was
Is there a non-easy access skirt? Can I just ask
Maybe a
that?
very,
Like
like
the
a very
skirts. I can
lengthy-
imagine the skirts might be tough.
Or like one of those like with
Pencil
peignets.
skirt.
Like
Yeah.
peignets in like many
Sure.
layers. That would be. There was also a really good one. It's from a Tumblr that compiles a lot of these
Casting calls.
casting calls. And my favorite from that one was seeking female, non-speaking role to lay face down on a bed in a pool of fake blood for 2 days, unpaid.
Yeah, that's the best part. Unpaid.
Oh my god.
Great.
But
I
you
can't
might
wait.
get. It's a really good resume builder.
So
Oh,
why
yeah.
should we? Why is this an issue? Like, why can't women just like? Why can't female actresses just like see this and not take these roles? Like, why should we care? That's a rhetorical question because I have an opinion of why.
Well, they can, of course, they can not take those roles. Right.
Right, but like, why? What are the implications beyond that? Beyond like, you know, the implications for these actresses and their careers, like.
Mm-hmm. Why are we still sexist culture?
Why should people in general and not just these actresses be outraged by this?
I don't know.
I don't know that it's not even outrage so much as like, why are there so many roles that exist that, for women specifically, that are these like two-dimensional depictions of like tropes or descriptions of female tropes, where like that doesn't seem to happen to men in the same way that it does.
I bet you could find a similar thing for any subcategory or category of like what people could call like a role.
Spoken like a typical
Exactly.
white man.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, you're
though.
totally right. Like, I'm sure that there are two-dimensional versions of like male versions of this
I mean,
happening.
and
but
I
are
bet
they as
that,
wonderful?
if you really, they're not.
That's
No, not saying that they're not, but I'm
Right.
just saying that you could probably find the same casting call wording for like needed typical white jock with like, you know,
Yeah.
small penis. Like, I'm sure that that's out there somewhere.
Right.
And
I'm sure.
plenty of people can fill that role, but of course we don't get outraged, and why? Like, what's
Yeah.
why don't we get outraged?
Because of the fact that like that's not harmful to men in the way that's harmful to women, right? Like that women are not.
I agree, and
that men are not oppressed people in the way that women are, or for these reasons, these specific like this sexism.
Well, at what point do we get to just find this funny though?
I
and
found
think-
it very funny.
And think like, oh, the people that wrote these are so dumb and like so out of the loop.
Well,
And
that's
that
what I
being
was
the key
wondering.
thing,
Like,
out of the loop.
but who are these people? Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
actually say whether these are sort of like, if these are like morons who are posting, you know, ads for actresses on
Right.
Craigslist,
Which
or
is-
if these
Right.
are like legitimate like
Right.
casting people.
Which is my main problem with the article. It's extremely problematic that
It's
they
true.
don't go into any detail about where they're getting these things from. Are
That's
these
totally
fringe
true.
voices that we're hearing? or are these mainstream? Is this coming out of the Broadway?
It sounds
or
like
is it
it's
coming out
prevalent enough, like the way these actresses are, there are interviews with the actresses who are reading these casting calls out loud, and it sounds like it's a prevalent
Sure.
enough problem that it can't just be a few outliers. That
Right.
this is like a sort of systemic cultural issue
Mhm.
that maybe comes into sharper relief in this context of people looking for women to present on
fulfill-
screen or on stage.
Yeah, to fulfill stereotypical female.
Yeah,
That
and,
they think
and,
are stereotypical.
ultimately to enact a fantasy, to enact fantasies.
Mhm.
You know.
Well, and to perpetuate these roles, like to keep them in the public eye, to like keep, to
Yeah.
like.
You know what we should
the more
do?
you put that out
I think this
there.
is what you know what we should do. We should go on New York Craigslist and put a bunch of stereotypical things for bankers or something like that. Like
Mhm.
bankers, white men with small penises, like some sort of just see what kind of response we get. See if
Yeah.
if those people are willing to throw themselves under the bus
Yeah.
for these roles. I
Yeah.
don't know, it'd be kind of fun.
Social experiment.
No, you don't like that idea?
I don't get it. Wait, we're asking Wall Street bankers with small penises to do what exactly?
To come and play themselves on our
Oh, on our podcast.
on our fake stage. We would
It'll
would
be
a
great
fake crowd.
exposure on this podcast.
Well, yeah. I mean, we have a lobby. I mean, all
See what
three
happens.
of our.
All right, we'll get back to that on next week after we've done this experiment, which we're definitely going to do.
Absolutely. Very dedicated.
Up next is, oh my god, I'm so sick of this.
Has this been a
Blurred
one-on-one thing?
Lines? Here we are again. This article is from Salon. Robin Thicke's Blurred Lines Clusterfuck. Am I allowed to say that?
Apparently.
A very, well, I didn't hear a beep, so. A very brief history. This is a piece by Anna Silman on Salon. It's basically just a brief chronicle of the Robin Thicke Pharrell Blurred Lines Marvin Gaye estate debacle.
Mm-hmm. Which just went into court.
It actually doesn't get to the decision of the court.
I don't think
it has been made.
This case is, the story is from like February 25th.
Yeah.
No, they made a decision.
Okay, so
Yeah.
update us.
Well, the court.
So wait, let's-
the issue was that so the Marvin Gaye estate, basically his children, sued Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams for copyright infringement because Blurred Lines
Sounds a lot like.
sounds a lot like
Gotta
Gotta
Give
Give
It
It
Up.
Up.
like very much.
Yeah.
A lot.
And so Pharrell and Robin Thicke basically argued that it was an homage. They accused the Marvin Gaye estate of being money grubbing, and
Actually filed a formal cease and desist against the
Yeah.
Marvin Gaye family before the Marvin Gaye
Right.
family even brought suit.
Yeah, it was a
Which is
preemptive suit.
Pretty crazy.
Crazy, especially because you're like, well, I know it seems like I copied you, so I'm gonna sue you.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, okay.
so
Right.
so the ultimate decision by the court, which was decided by jury, was that Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams actually had infringed on the copyright of the Marvin Gaye estate, and it was decided by jury. So it's not exactly precedent setting, but I'm sure that it got the attention of musicians and studio executives alike, or label executives rather. So, I mean, my favorite part of this article, personally, was reading about Robin Thicke's defense strategy,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
basically was
I was
to
wasted.
claim that I was too high on Vicodin
Vicodin.
and too drunk to have actually written the song. I was physically incapable of doing so, and so it was actually all Pharrell. I just decided to put my name on it afterwards, and they're like, well, that actually doesn't matter.
Right, and then he said, well, I don't, it's okay. Thicke also says he doesn't consider himself an honest person and that all the media statements he gave surrounding the song should be ignored because he had
was
a drug and alcohol problem for the entire year.
And
It's
didn't, and quote, didn't give a sober interview.
Right,
Yeah,
so
that's-
it's like, so I'm a liar and I was drunk and I don't know, like that's not a solid defense.
Maybe the best part of this article, when you go online and look at it, because I know you will, is the September 2014. You can read the whole deposition of both Pharrell, is that how you say his name? Pharrell and Fix Depositions. Which
Are you pretending that you don't know how to say Pharrell's name?
I don't know who Pharrell is.
It's adorable.
You're so cute.
I'm sorry.
It's like a Martian.
But I do like that song, but only because I like Gotta Give It Up. It's like one of my favorite dance jams, as it were. And I'm kidding.
It's funny, it's such a... Oh, it is actually one of my favorites.
It's a great song. No, Gotta Give It Up is... That whole
No,
album is
Gotta Give It
gold.
Up.
Oh, Gotta Give It Up
is a fantastic
No,
song.
yeah, that's
I mean, and I sort of, you know, like, because of that, I'm kind of obligated to like Blurred Lines because they sound similarly. But I don't know, what do you guys think of this? Like, is it a good thing that Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams were successfully sued?
It's like, I feel like in this specific case that I'm glad that they...
Because
that
you don't
they-
like the people.
Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like globally...
No. That's not illegal. That's not illegal.
You aren't letting me finish. What I was
That's
gonna
okay.
say, what I was gonna say is that I feel like specifically in this case, I'm happy that they lost, right? But like globally, I feel like the implications aren't great because I feel like, am I gonna have to be watching my back for everything I ever write or everything, you know, like?
Are we all in agreement that art is derivative?
Yeah, it's all derivative. So it's like, how could you? This seems a little like worrisome,
It's
right?
weird. It's just weird, like in our, you know, media-saturated internet culture. Like it's almost like words like originality or ownership. They almost feel dated.
Yeah, there's a really great. NPR does a show called TED Talks or something like that. Some show
TED
about
Radio Hour.
TED Radio Hour. There you go. 2 or 3 weeks ago, they did a whole show on the idea of originality in today's culture. It's amazing. You should definitely listen to it. You should definitely listen to it if you haven't. And yeah, basically, a lot of people who study art for a living are like, there's nothing original anymore. Like it doesn't. There probably never was, and it's okay. Like
It's fine.
It's not a big deal. We just need to find a different way to talk about it,
Right.
rather than this sort of propriety or property-based way that our legal system deals with it, which is.
It's funny that you only really get in trouble for it if you're wealthy enough to be sued.
Yeah, if you make some money off it.
Yeah, I don't. Is that true though? Because
Yeah.
I know. Well,
That's
maybe
probably
it's-
not true. That's probably a wildly false.
I don't know. It seems like the only reason I'm asking is because it's like one of those things where I look at something like this and I'm like, should I be worried?
Well, I mean, there's so many artists. Like, I mean,
Do we know how much
Jacob Chiachi is a video artist and musician, and like almost all of his work. I mean, some of it contains original animations, but so much of it is mashups of copyrighted material.
Oh, right.
And he makes a successful living. He's shown his work at MoMA and like all over the world, and nobody's coming after him. And like musicians like Greg Gillis, Girl Talk,
Mhm.
like I mean, I know it's a little different. It's different for him because I mean, I think his last album he like put online for free. It was sort of a pay what you want sort of thing, donation based. But it's like, as far as I know, he's never faced a lawsuit. It's like people are just very selective, it seems, about who they choose to go after.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, there's also so much tricky. I mean, copyright law is so tricky and complicated. Like that, the laws that apply to certain kinds of. I mean, like for example, this lawsuit was not about the song as a whole. It was about the sheet music, because this like copyright law was different when Gotta Give It Up was released. So it's like okay, like to somebody like a layman like me who's looking at this article and like, why does that matter? Are we talking about the same thing?
You're not a lame man.
I'm
Can't-
You're a lame woman.
lady.
Can't find the amount. The terms are undisclosed, so we don't know how much they made off of it. But I will always side with Marvin Gaye's family over even.
That's what's so tough.
Which is really weird. I was just reading about his death recently for some reason, just because I couldn't work.
I don't know why you guys don't like Pharrell. I think Pharrell is.
I think Pharrell's dope. I think that
Will
Robin,
Ferrell. Just kidding.
you're so young.
Moving
Okay,
on.
But Robin Thicke is the worst. That's what.
So the latest in the 99-cent. Sorry, not 99 cent. The latest in the Los Angeles disputes
Is this
over the Equity versus Los Angeles 99-seat theater. The final showdown is the name of the article in American Theater, sponsored by TCG. Rob Weinert Kent is the author, and so Equity kind of fired its opening salvo. Well, maybe not opening salvo, but its first sort of solution to the ever-evolving 99-seat theater equity plan in LA, where first by firing their representative there, Michael Von Duzer, And then Mary, somebody get her name? The equity head of, there she is.
Oh, yeah, Mary McCall.
Mary McCall published Equity's first attempt at a new plan that has 3 different kind of tiers to it. One is that you can be a theater in LA and you can act in it if you're an equity actor if equity members are the producers. So if the equity members are footing the bill, it's okay to work whatever rate you want, essentially. The second is that membership companies that have been a big part of this plan, where people pay like a membership, like almost like a gym fee to belong. And they're mostly all equity actors that like put on this work together as a group, as almost an ensemble. They can remain as long as they do not add any new members. So that's dying, that's going to die quickly, which is clearly the point.
Really,
and then third, the only other way that you can do theater in LA if you want is that you have to pay everyone a minimum wage, American, $9 an hour or whatever it is, some ridiculously low number anyway. For rehearsals and performances, supplanting the $7 to $25 stipend that currently exists in LA for actors that work
Per performance.
Per performance, yes.
Like per performance, like not per hour, not
No
for
rehearsals, yeah.
like just the performance.
So yeah, everybody, I think even probably most people who are against changing the plan realize that the current plan is kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Or like just can't be sustained and is unfair in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I really liked Miss McCall's comment that like, in this article is like, listen, we're a labor union. Like, people maybe think of us as different because we represent actors, but we're not, we are artists, yes, but we're a labor union. We are protecting labor. And, it's interesting to note that union membership has declined in this country like crazy over the past 50 years. It's down to about 11% of the workforce, down from almost 38% in 1945. So, but in the arts, it actually still remains fairly high. Like 25% of actors are in equity. So like, it's one of the few places where the labor force is actually being protected in a way that, in my view, they should be.
Mm-hmm.
So like, the way I fall on this is completely for the union. Like, I think you can find ways to produce art where you actually pay the people who are involved. That, and if you can't do that, then do something else. Sorry,
Yeah.
that was really long. I apologize.
No, it was great.
It was a little
No,
rant.
it was good. It's funny because I'm sort of on both sides in this.
Yeah.
The guy who wrote the article, that was his point. Right? Like,
Yeah, it's my mom, it's my dad.
Exactly.
It's like a
That's what
divorce. He makes this divorce metaphor in it because it's like, well, I totally agree. It's like if the only way to make this art is by exploiting people, then you've got to figure something else out. But then I'm also like, well, but what about all of the actors who seem in favor of this, and not even seem, they are in favor of this 99-seat theater, who won't be able to do it anymore because equity is getting involved.
well, then maybe it's
It's
difficult
funny.
to
It's like, do you go with the principled belief that artists must be compensated for their work and that they should not compromise for that, or do you make a special exception for this like little creative ecosystem in which is so important for workshopping
And the theater
creative
community has totally blossomed, right? Like this worked. The 99-seat theater plan did exactly what it was supposed to do when they put it in play. I can't remember what year, back in the 80s. Back in the 80s, the LA theater community was starving. They couldn't get any work produced because everybody in LA is in SAG or equity.
Yeah.
So they couldn't produce any work, and this solved it. There's tons of theater in LA now.
Yeah.
So it's true, like. Now you've
we
made
just
me
need more
confused.
public money.
Right?
We
It's
need
so
more
tough.
public money for art.
Yeah, I mean, there are some ways that we could solve this like that. Like there'd be no problem if there was.
That's never gonna happen.
Never gonna happen.
But that is so weird that it's like, in LA of all places, where it seems like, I guess they're facing their own, we talked about this in the podcast before, with the film industry moving other places, but it's like, I can't believe that a place like LA wouldn't have enough.
It just seems like this is something that
Throw 'em
it's
out.
just not something that we value enough as a culture to actually
Right.
get politicians to support with money.
Yeah, if people think of art as a decorative or like a pastime, then like there's no reason to preserve it. It's like, we just should
Well,
do less of it.
maybe next week we'll hear from the other side of this, or hear from whatever the theater community in LA has to say back to Equity about this new idea, this new plan. But for now, we're going to take a little break and come back to discuss some more articles from the Green Page. Remember, you can see all of these articles at cmuptm.blogspot.com. And thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.